Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. It's Saturday now. I didn't do a video yesterday. I was a little tied up, so we're going to catch up on a lot of things that we have to talk about. We got first, Iris Energy provided some information about their special purpose vehicles that they're in lawsuit with and the creditors on those. We have some information on that. We also have Hut 8 providing some information on its Validus lawsuits as well, and some interesting information there. Then we got Hut 8 providing their July production update, and then we have Bitdeer providing their quarterly 2 results along with Hive. So we got quite a bit to go through. We'll have the chapters down on the bottom here for you guys to skip to the ones that you want to see. And then we'll take a look at what happened yesterday in the markets. Bitdeer was up huge. I have no idea why, but we'll take a look at it also when we cover Bitdeer. And then CleanSpark was up also nicely yesterday as well. So we'll take a look at all those that we have going on tomorrow, or going on. And then as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice. For entertainment only, please do your own research and invest in the following coins and companies for full disclosure. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. So let's get into our first story here, which is going to be on Iris. So Iris limited recourse equipment financing update. We knew that they were in a court battle with the creditors on that. So as previously disclosed by the company, a hearing was held in June 2023 in the Supreme Court of British Columbia in relation to limited recourse equipment financing facilities entered into by two wholly owned special purpose vehicle borrowers, the non-recourse SPVs. Today, the court issued its ruling affirming the company's position that, among other things, the Bitcoin mined by the company is not collateral securing such facilities, and there is no parent guarantee with respect to the equipment financing facilities, and no relief in respect of substantive consolidation was granted. So that's good news. So that's one thing that's good. There is a little bad news here, and this isn't too bad, but it still could be costly. So, however, the court declared transactions pursuant to hash power services provided by the non-recourse SPVs to the company to be void. The court noted that based on the submissions to date, the discrepancy between the value that the company received for the hash power and the consideration paid to the non-recourse SPVs is between $3 million and $11.9 million. The company is considering whether to appeal the declaration as it disagrees with the decision, including certain factual findings. So, they may settle on this somewhere between the 3 and 11.9 million, or they're going to go to battle for it. So we'll see. I would say get it done and over with and concentrate on growing the hash rate going forward. But that's just me. So I thought this was kind of good news and a little bad news, but it's a little mixed. But nonetheless, it's good that they don't have to put back the BTC that they generated from those. Okay, so that's good there. All right, next, Hut 8 also provides some update on some of their legal battles. And they also execute a support agreement with Macquarie. So this was interesting to me. I actually reached out to Sue from Hut 8 to get some clarification on this, and I'll talk about it down below. She couldn't provide too much information because it's still a pending legal battle. So, but what we do know is, let's see, Hut 8 today announced it has entered into its transaction support agreement with Macquarie Equipment Finance Ltd., a subsidiary of Macquarie Group Limited, a group financial services group, in support of opportunity to potentially acquire certain assets of Validus Power Corp. And Validus subsidiaries. So as we know, Validus is the one that they were having the battle with in North Bay, Ontario, their facility where they had to basically remove all their miners from. This looks to me like Validus is in trouble or in bankruptcy or something like that. They didn't provide that in here. I didn't look it up either, but that's kind of what I'm guessing based on the statements that we do have here. Okay, Validus was previously a supplier of energy to the company's mining facilities in North Bay, Ontario. Macquarie is secured creditor of the Validus entities under an existing secured lease and participation agreement. So that's how those two are working together, Hut 8 and Macquarie. And pursuant to an order on Ontario Supreme Court of Justice issued on August 10th, an application by Macquarie KSV Restructuring Inc., a licensed insolvency trustee, see this is where we have insolvency, so I'm guessing bankruptcy, with extensive experience in receivership mandates has been appointed as receiver of property assets and undertakings of Validus entities. So that is interesting to note here. Also, subject to the satisfaction of certain conditions under the terms of the support agreement, a staking horse bid is to be submitted to the receiver in support of proposed sale and investment solicitation process to be carried out in respect of Validus entities. A staking horse bid is if ultimately successful, is expected to result in a full and final resolution of all litigation claims and counterclaims currently pending between Hut 8 and certain Validus entities. So that would be good there. And based on this, and Sue kind of said that they are looking to possibly purchase some of the entities, some of the properties that Validus had, and one of them might be North Bay, but she didn't state that for a fact. So that's a little open-ended there. But nonetheless, we got a confirmation that that's what might be happening here, which is actually really good because then that way they can get the facility back, hopefully get better electrical rates and everything else, and get going there instead of taking those miners and putting them into hosting or something like that. So that would be actually, I think, good news for Hut 8 here. One, to get the facility back, and the other part of it would be obviously to get rid of the lawsuits. So double whammy here. So this would be good depending on what the price of this is. They didn't provide that for us, unfortunately. Okay, so that's it for that one. And let's take a look at Hut 8 production update. They were lucky. They got in by the end of, Friday. And I said, I think Thursday's video or Wednesday's video, I said that if they don't provide it by Thursday or Friday, by the end of the week, I usually give the miners 2 weeks to provide this information for the production updates. They would not be included in the miners' metrics that we do for each month here and based on performance-wise. So they're going to be definitely included in here, and here's what we have for them. Down here, production highlights. So 116 Bitcoin were mined, were generated, resulting in an average production rate of approximately 3.7 Bitcoin per day. 100 Bitcoin minus 50 Bitcoin produced in June and 50 Bitcoin produced in July were sold during the month for proceeds totaling 3.9 million. So they sold basically 100 Bitcoin in July. Total balance of Bitcoin in reserves was 9,152 on July 31st. 8,300 of those of which was unencumbered. Installed hash rate capacity at Alberta facilities was 2.6 exahash at the end of the month, which was pretty much what they had before. Operational highlights: repair and restoration efforts at Drumheller, Alberta site continued as the team repaired more than 4,337 hash boards throughout the month, and the site is currently operating at approximately 20% of installed hash rate. So they are getting some things done there, but let's see, where was it here? Talked about that earlier today, so we talked about that, and here we go. Our operational challenges at Drumheller have persisted, and despite implementing custom firmware to manage the power supply output and repairing more than 11,693 hash boards to date, we are seeing some additional failures when installing the miners, which is adversely affecting remediation timeline. This is interesting. We've talked about this a little bit in the past, but we never really had much information on it as far as what the cause of it was. We know it was some kind of a power spike or something like that they had, and it basically wiped out a lot of their miners here. They've been repairing those, and for whatever reason, whatever the custom firmware that they are using to manage the power supply output is still causing them issues, which is interesting. And I'm guessing those are going to be, I don't want to speculate here. I won't say it because I don't know which miners those are going to be. But it'd be interesting to see what safeguards they have in place to prevent power spikes in the future with any of their facilities. Okay, so that's it for that one. Let's take a look at their production, and we'll go on to the next one here. So Hut 8 currently has 221 million shares outstanding. Stock price is at $2.97. Market cap is at 657 million right now. Their last 12 weeks performance has been pretty good, up 62% from then. 8 weeks, they're up 35%. From 4 weeks, they're actually down 25%. And last week, they were down 10.63%. We'll see how this week turns out. I think this week, some of the miners had a really good week. But Bitcoin current hash rate is about 2.6 exahash, was what we have them at. Future hash rate is at 7.5. This includes them with the merge of USBTC. And we'll see how that continues going forward. That should close here, hopefully within a month or two. And we'll get some more updated information on that. Bitcoin HODL is at 9,152, valued at approximately 268 million right now. HODL to market cap is about 40.83%. And each share has $1.21 worth of HODL in it based on the value right now. BTC mined monthly. You can see that last year, their best month was in August. 375 Bitcoins were mined at that time. They were also mining it with Ethereum GPU miners at that time. Those were very profitable for them. That has, however, come down here ever since then. They've been on a steady decline here as their hash rate hasn't really grown much, and the network hash rate has increased. So we're seeing continuation downslide on that. So they were at 116 in July. Month-over-month difference, you can see how much they're down and up some months. BTC HODL here has been increasing ever since last year. They had 7,736, but that was at the expense, unfortunately, of shareholders, which they used quite a bit of dilution to HODL basically everything. They didn't sell, so they had to pay for operations somehow. Well, that was a result of some dilution there. They peaked, it looks like, in January with 9,274. From there, in January, they kind of changed their stance a little bit and started to sell some more. You can see here that in February they actually sold 188. March they sold 240. April we couldn't. They didn't report anything that was being sold. And then in May they sold 179. June 217, and now in July 100. So they're starting to sell, at least possibly to cover their electricity expenses and some other things. Maybe not completely cover all their expenses, but at least partially. Based on this, their BTC per exahash efficiency has been coming down as well. They have been curtailing, plus with the problems that they've been having at was the Drumheller facility, with the miners being down, they're still reporting the same hash rate. So that has obviously taken down their efficiency quite a bit here. They were at, I got them at 44.7 hash rate. You can see here that hash rate, November was 3.2 exahash, which is where they kind of peaked. And then in December, they've fallen down to 2.5, came back up a little bit in March to 2.6, and they've pretty much stayed there since then. Monthly BTC revenue, you can see the revenue peaked in August of last year, where they were at 8.38 million in revenue, and then their low was in December of 2.7 million. And then they've been kind of bouncing in the low, I would say mid threes or so for the last couple of months. They did reach 4 million in May, and May was contributable to the network transaction fees, helping out tremendously there. But other than that, July looks like about 3.49 million. Hash rate difference, you can see how their hash rate has stacked up. BTC sold, how much value they've roughly sold at based on Bitcoin being at the average price of each month. We'll get into the quarterly results when they report for Q2 here. And let's go down here. Institutions did increase here, which is nice to see, 170 institutions. Shares held by institutions is 24.8 million. Percentage-wise, it's 11.19%. We still have one strong buy rating. The buy rating that we did have went away, so now we don't have that one. We still have 2 hold ratings, zero underperformed, 0 sells. Price target went down a little bit here to $2.42 for the high, $1.74 for the average, and $1.12 for the low on that one. Let's go back down here as far as their miners are concerned. All the miners were basically operating here in July for about 18.6 days. In order for us to get to the revenue number that's down here. That's converted over from Canadian dollars. So 3.489 is where we got them, which is right there. So that works out really good. And if we look at them currently, they're at $2.97 with the last 3 quarters that we have data on them, which is the current quarter that we're in, which is an estimated number, plus the last 2 quarters, which are final numbers. Yeah, so those are accurate there. And then we're combining the current quarter, which is an estimated one. Combined total estimate is about 45 million. 50% net income, we're looking at 22 million, PE of 10. They do have a little bit of growth, and I'm giving them that because of the merger with USBTC. That gets us to $1.02, 75% net income, PE of 10, $1.53. They're currently at $2.97. The analysts have them at $2.42 for the high. They are overvalued in my opinion. Now, if we look towards future estimates, where we take the current month production that they reported, which was for July, and I believe I'm using this for July here, yep. And we take the 8 months that we still have until the halving event, multiply by that, and then multiply the 4 months after the halving, which is going to be at half that rate. Well, we can see now that they would be at 79 cents to $1.18 because their revenue has been coming down. So they really need to get the Drumheller facilities up and running as fast as they can, get that hash rate back up so they can start generating more Bitcoin there, and merging with USBTC as fast as they can as well. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm standing on that one. Let me know what you guys think of Hut 8, and we'll go from there. Okay, so that's it for that one. Let's take a look at some of the quarterly results that we have here. So Bitdeer reported their Q2 results as well. You guys can read over all this data. I didn't find anything that was anything too interesting in here. However, the stock went up huge yesterday. It was up, let me see here. It was up 35% at one point. It was over 40%, almost like 50% at one point. But it's now at $12.58. So it had a huge run up after the earnings came out, which was surprising because I looked at the earnings and, I mean, there's some improvements there, but it's not something that was mind-blowing. I didn't expect it to go up that much. Okay, so let's take a look at Bitdeer here really quick, and we'll go back down here for the parts that I highlighted. Some things that were interesting to note was down here. Let me see here. Here it is. Average cost of electricity was approximately 4.1 cents per kilowatt hour. In the second quarter of 2023, average miner efficiency was at 33.4. I have like 32, I think, something like that. I'm off slightly here, but they're still above the 30 mark as it is for them. So let's take a look at some numbers that we do have here for them. Bitdeer currently has about 111 million shares. That's based on the number that we just got from the quarterly result. Stock price was at $12.58. Market cap is about 1.4 billion. They've had really good run here from 12 weeks ago. They're up 90%, but the last 8 weeks, they're down 19. From 4 weeks, they're down 34%, and the last week, they were down 10.2. This week is going to be a different story, though. They're up nicely on Friday alone. Okay, we've covered this production side of things before. Current hash is at 3.8 exahash. Futures about 7.6, roughly. So they still have some growth left in them. And then when we look at their actual financial numbers, don't have a lot of data on them because they just came public this year. So we do have only 2 quarterly results. So we do have some data for the annual results, but this is kind of what we're having right now. So last 4 quarters revenue, this is only for self-mining. So we'll talk about that down below. Last 4 quarters operating costs, this is also for self-mining. So I'm trying to keep that just for that part of it because we don't know, well, I don't know what their profitability is on all the other segments that they do have. They don't provide the detailed information that I would need to figure that out. So we'll take a look at down below. Cost to mine 1 Bitcoin is now calculated at 15.06 thousand per Bitcoin. Bitcoin mine quarterly has gone up nicely to 758 from 552, so that's good there. Debt to equity, obviously lower is better. Debt to equity actually went up to above 1. We'd like to see that below 1. Current ratio also has come down a little bit here, not too bad. They're still above 1. I mean, basically they can pay their current liabilities almost 8 times over with the current assets that they do have. Total current assets has decreased to 376 million, and then total current liabilities is up a little bit here to 47 million right now. Okay, and let me see here. Down here, okay. We'll get into these numbers after we go through all the stuff here. Current assets, so cash and cash equivalents went down to 130 million from 173 million. That's a 43 million decrease there. Cryptocurrencies did increase though to 10 million from 4.5, so that's good there. Trade receivables about the same amounts due. Let's see what else, other changes that we have here. Mining machines went up a little bit here to 47 from 41. Prepayments went up a little bit here to 129 million from 126 million. Financial assets went up to 33 million from 30 million, and restricted cash went down to 9.4 from 11.4. So total current assets is at 376 million, so that's down from the 405 million that we had in Q1. Total assets amounted to 619 million, so that's down from the 636 million. So still not too bad, but it's down. It has been coming down here for looks like since last year of 2022. They had 651, and we've gotten obviously each quarter since then a decrease. Current liabilities, only thing that has really increased here is the other payables and accruals. That's up to 29.9 million from 22.3. What else do we have here? Deferred revenue is down to 155 from 167. Borrowings is still the same. Lease liabilities went up to a little bit, 70 million from 69.5 million. Deferred tax went down to 7.2 from 9.4. So total liabilities is down to 310 million compared to 315 million. So that's good. That has come down. Net assets, let's see, your total stockholder equity is now at 619 million compared to 636 million. And then revenue, so here's the revenue part of it. So this is the part that's interesting. So they have obviously quite a few different segments for themselves. They have the self-mining, they have the cloud hash rate, general hosting, membership hosting, and then other. Not sure what other entails, but it's there. So self-mining increased nicely to 21 million from 13.2 million. That's a great increase there. So maybe the stock went up in value because of that. Plus the total revenue increased quite nicely, also being up 21 million here in the quarter. Cloud hash rate was about flat. General hosting was up about 5 million to 27.7 million from 22 million. Membership hosting was also up nicely, 23.9 million from 16.5. So that's a good thing there. Other went down a little bit here to 2.5 from 2.7. So total revenue is at 93 million, 0.8. And prior to that was 72.5. So I think that increase there of almost, what is that going to be? 21 million roughly, 21.3 million or something like that. Increase in revenue. I think that's what drove the stock price yesterday. Okay. Energy infrastructure. So these are their costs. So electricity costs in operation have gone up quite a bit here to 49 million from 29 million. So that's a 20 million increase. But we've seen also a 20 million increase in revenue here. It seems like depreciation was at 18.3 compared to 17.2. Share-based payments was down to 1.1 compared to the 12.2. million that they had, so that's good there. Other was something new that they reported was 8.4. We didn't have anything on that. Gross profit, you can see their gross profit margin here overall is 36.78 minus depreciation. And then selling expenses went down to 1.8 from 2.4, so that's good. Research and development went up to 6.4 from 6.2. General administrative also went up a little bit here to 16.4 from 16. I'd love to see those numbers come down here, especially for research and general. What else do we have here that's went up quite a bit? Other net gain was up to 1.4 from 140,000. So profit loss was negative 41 million here compared to negative 10 million. The biggest thing I think is the listing fee, which was a one-time event here, which was 33 million that they didn't have before. Profit loss, total comprehensive income was negative 40 million compared to negative 9.4 million. Basic and diluted net loss per share was 36 cents. Don't have much data on the other quarters here. They had different numbers for how many shares they had at that time, I think, when everything got switched over when they went public. Okay, so if we take minus depreciation comprehensive income, they came in at negative 21 million. So taking out depreciation on that. And if we took out that one-time listing fee of 33 million, well, then they would have probably been positive here, about 10 million or so. Okay, so that's all that. So there's some good stuff in here, some bad stuff. The stock performed really good yesterday, and that's based on the increase in revenue here. And if we look at what I'm seeing as far as their valuation here, this part of the valuation here is based on their self-mining only. It does not include all the other revenue streams that they do have, because I just don't know what their percentage of profitability is on some of those. We've seen it with other companies in the past that hosting, well, we've just seen it with Riot this week, that hosting, is a money-losing business for them at least. We've seen it in the past for Riot, or for Core. Core has gotten better. They're actually profitable now in hosting, which is good to see. So I'm guessing Bitdeer is going to be also profitable in hosting, but I just don't know by how much. So based on self-mining here alone, I would say the stock would be fairly valued about between $5.03 to $7.55. And that's with current numbers that we do have for them. Current revenues just on the self-mining, they're currently at $12.58. Based on that, they would be overvalued. But if we look at, let me see here, is this for July? Yep. So if we take a look at July actually comes in even lower here because the revenue is a little bit down, I think, on that one. But if we include all the revenue that they have in here, which I did over here on this one, so stock estimates with all revenues, I wanted to see just how well things would possibly compare on that one. And the way I did this was based on the numbers. Oh, where were they? I think it was, well, let's take a look at it here. I think I came up with 25% net income. I did a calculation here someplace. Let me see before I find that. And that was based on, the percentages here. So whatever the percentage was, gross profit. So 17 to 36%, something like that, I think is what I went by here. So I basically went 25 to 35% on that one, instead of the 15 to 75% based on just the self-mining. And that the reason is because I don't know what the profitability is of the other business segments. We know that when Bitcoin starts going up really good for the self-mining, it can be as profitable as high as 80, 90%, even more. During the bear markets, we can be below 50%, but typically not too far below it from just the operations side of things. Okay, so based on this, with the PO, PO 15, 25% net income, I'm looking at $11.22 for the stock to 35% net income, PO 15, 1571. They're currently at 1258. I think they're fairly valued right now where they are at. We could see them go up a little bit higher, but this is kind of where I'm looking to see for them to be right now. Okay, so that's that information there. And then almost forgot to get into this here as well. I've been going through the beta on all these guys. Some of these guys also provide advanced beta, or something they call it something else, where they lump in other things in there that are non-cash, one-time things, and then they get different numbers from it. I'm just using the standard beta, which is net profit plus taxes plus interest plus depreciation, amortization being added in there. So that came out to be 10.2 million for them if we did that. And I think that also includes the, let me see here, that number, the one-time finance fee, I believe it was in here as well. Yeah, listing fee as well. So I have that taken out there as also. If I didn't do that, it would be negative 22 million or something like that we saw down below. Okay, so it's kind of tough on that. And then you can see the enterprise value to a beta comparison of 137. Let me know if those numbers make sense, or I'm not a financial expert here. I'm not an accountant. So I've done a lot of research on YouTube and in other places to figure out how I can figure these two out, and this is the way I've done it. Let's see here. Enterprise value is just market cap plus debt minus cash, and that's what we got here, 1.399. For that, so we're taking basically that, dividing that by the beta, and getting 137 multiple otherwise. Revenue to general administrative compensation, I like looking at that, and it actually came in pretty good. It came in under 20%, which normally I would like to see all the miners be under 20%, but they came in at 17.55, so that's good there. And then number of shares, obviously we used before here, and you can see their debt to equity, current ratios, and things like that, which we talked about also. Excuse me, and the cost to mine one Bitcoin is at 15,000 right now for them based on the numbers that we do have here. Okay, so that's it. Overall, great growth for them as far as revenue is concerned. Some things, I mean, there's not much to really complain here. I wish they would just provide more details as far as profitability of the different business segments, I guess. Okay, at least in the quick Excel sheets, the data points. Okay, so that's it. Other than that, like I said, they are pretty fairly valued right now based on the numbers that we do have here for them. And we'll see how they continue to do. And we'll continue to track them. Okay, next is going to be Hive. So last one here is Hive. Hive also provides information here. This is for their, I think they call this their, what is it, their Q1? I think this is their Q1 right now. So Hive Digital announces quarterly revenue of 23.6 million, gross operating margin of 8 million, and achieves adjusted EBITDA of 5.3 M. So they call it adjusted EBITDA, which lumps in other things into it as well, and they actually provide the information down below, which is kind of where I figured that out. Of 5.3 million for the quarter, and purchase of 2,000 Bitmain S19XP ASIC miners for immediate deployment. So that's great news there too. Okay, so let's come down here, and let's see here. This is from Aiden Kylik. In addition to this, we saw Bitcoin mining difficulties increase 24% quarter over quarter, reaching an all-time high of 52 trillion. Nevertheless, we produced 834 Bitcoin this quarter, a 5% increase over last quarter. Furthermore, even though difficulty was 24% higher on average this quarter, we improved our gross mining margin to 34%, up from 22% from the previous quarter, so that's good there. This increase in production was accomplished by expanding our fleet of ASICs to increase our production and also carefully managing our energy markets and striving to mine for optimal profits. To date, we've received delivery of all 11,269 ASICs we purchased in 2023. Of these, approximately 2,000 remain to be plugged in which we hope to accomplish in the next week. Okay, let's see, their GPUs are running about $80 per megawatt in revenue. And let's see here. Furthermore, Hive's average cost of production per Bitcoin was 18,687, including cost of goods sold, not including SG&A. And then we got the information down here. Let's see, there was something else. And then I wanted to obviously talk to you guys about this part here. So some companies provide a beta and adjusted beta. So it gets a little wacky. So that's why I decided I'm just going to go with a beta on all of these miners here. So in all the spreadsheets, I've updated that. For those of you guys that are Patreon members, if you guys could take a look through those, see if those numbers are adding up to what you would normally expect to see. If there's any issues, let me know, obviously, in the comments or on the Patreon page. But that's kind of what I did. So beta is net income or loss from operations as reported in profit and loss before finance income and expenses, tax and depreciation and amortization. So that's how I calculated that. And then adjusted beta is a beta adjusted for removing other non-cash items, including share-based compensation, non-cash effect of revaluation of digital currencies, and one-time transactions. So a lot of these guys are using the adjusted beta just to make the numbers look a little bit better, I guess. But that's kind of what I'm using with, I'm using just a regular standard beta on my calculations, okay? For clarification. So let's take a look at Hive here. One other thing that I did with Hive is they reported that they're basically getting rid of some of the older miners. I removed some of the older miners that they do have here, which are the 90 terahash miners, some of the 87 terahash miners, some 90 here as well. I think those are going to be getting out, and eventually we'll get to the ones that are the 96 potentially, and maybe the 98 when time comes for it. And I've added in the actual 2,000 that they purchased here recently, so that's being added in there. So now we have total, which I think, yep, I removed all the other ones here. So we are at 3.7 right now of what is possibly going to be installed here in the future here. And their future hash rate is going to be, let me see here, 3.7. Their current hash rate is about 3.5 right now. So they said they want to get to 6 exahash, which they might with all the miners they have, but I'm thinking they are changing miners out. for some of the more efficient ones. Okay. Getting back to the numbers here. So shares outstanding is 84 million. Stock price $4.68. That gives them a market cap of about 393 million. They have done pretty well here in the last 12 weeks, up 51%. 8 weeks, they're up 45%. The last 4 weeks, they're only down 21%. And last week, they were down 11%, which we were seeing the same thing with a lot of miners. Current hash rate we talked about. Future hash rate, HODL, is 2,032 Bitcoin, valued at about 16 million right now. And we've covered this in their production updates here. Here we go. Last 4 quarters revenue. So quarterly revenue has been increasing ever since Q3 of last year, which would have been, let me see here. That would have been June, March, December quarter, I believe. Yeah, December quarter ending. Yep, December quarter ending. Then with the one prior to that would have been the October ending quarter, September ending quarter. But it has been going up here. And then this current quarter that we're in right now, it's estimated they're going to be about 20 million. So they're going to be possibly down unless Bitcoin goes up in value or they install more miners. And then last 4 quarters operating costs have been going up as well to 15.58 million. Still not terrible. Compared to that, they had 23.5 million in revenue here. Cost to mine 1 Bitcoin has increased to, like they said, about 18. I'm at 17.93 based on my numbers. BTC mined, let's see here, has come down, but has increased or improved over Q3 quarter to Q4. Debt to equity is still pretty nice, 0.335. It's pretty flat here the last couple months or quarters. Current ratio has actually went down a little bit here to 3.1. They're still fine. They can basically pay their expenses 3 times over. Total current assets decreased a little bit here to 75 million. They did buy miners, so that's why that's happening. Total current liabilities went up a little bit here to 24 million, so still really good shape there. Okay, now as far as the numbers are concerned here for them, we'll get back to these numbers here at the end. Assets, cash and cash equivalents stayed about the same. Amounts receivable went down to 8.9 from 9.3. Investments was down to 2.2 from 2.8. Digital currencies was down to 59 from 65. That's because they used some of that to buy machines. Property equipment went down to 86 from 87, so not bad. Long term went up a little bit here to 5.9 from 5.8. Deposits went up to 10.6 from 9.5. Right of use went down to 10.3 from 10.9. So total assets actually decreased to 188 million compared to 196 in the prior quarter. Liabilities, let's take a look at that one. Decreased here to 8.6. Accounts payable from 9.3, so that's good. Current portion of convertible loan liability, that's a new one here, that's 1.2. Current portion of lease liability is about the same, maybe up a little bit here. Term loan actually went down to 6.8 from 7.1, so that's good. Loans payable went up to 1.3 from 1.2. Current income tax went up to 3.6 from 1.8, so total current liabilities at 24 million compared to 21. Still not too bad, not a huge increase there, not a concern. Total liabilities is now at 46 million from 47 million, so a little bit of a decrease there. So that is good there as well. Stockholder total liabilities and stockholder equity, 188 million from 196 million, so that's down a little bit. And then revenue side of things, revenues did improve here to 23.5 from 18.2 million in the prior quarter, so that's good. Cost of sales increased here a little bit to 15.5 and from 14.1. Depreciation, amortization, you can see that. Total cost of sales was, well, 32 million if you're including all of that stuff in there. Gross profit to negative 8.5 million. Let's see here. Total, down here, what else we have here? General administrative went down to 2.7 from 3.3. That's great to see. Love seeing that. Foreign exchange gain was actually 1.44 million compared to a negative 4.2. Share-based compensation was down also to 1.9 million from 2.9, so that's good there as well. And let's see what else we have here. That's maybe my big change. Unrealized loss on investments is down to 664,000 from 2.6 million. Change in fair value derivative was down to 142 from 389. We have impairment was out here. What else do we have? Finance expense was up to 879,000 from 773,000. Total was 2 million compared to negative 2 million compared to negative 3.3 million. So that's good. That's an improvement. Net loss gain income for the period was negative 14. So they did lose a little bit more here than they lost in the prior. But let's see here. And net loss, here we go. Net loss was 11.048 million compared to 1.97. They did toss in some things here. Well, they had a revaluation on digital currencies back here in Q4. They didn't as much. They didn't have that in Q1 as much as they did in there. That kind of offset things a little bit. And what else do we have there that was kind of big? I'm trying to think. I mean, there was nothing really major that big. Cost of revenue, that's just that. Yeah. So total loss per share was negative 19 cents compared to negative 15 cents. And then minus depreciation comprehensive income came in at 5.4 instead of 9.3. So that's down a little bit here. And that would have equated to about 6 cents per share instead of 11 cents per share on that one. So it's down a little bit. So that's why I keep saying they got to keep growing and they got to grow fast before the having event happens on them. So looking at some of the metrics that we do have here, debt to equity we talked about, current ratio we talked about, book to value, you can see that 141, price to book ratio 2.78, enterprise value 342 million, beta was 6.3 million is what I got. EV to EBITDA ratio was 54 on that one. Revenue and general administrative actually went down to 20% here of that compared to 34%. So that's good to see that that's coming down. And we had a little bit of a dilution here in shares, 0.65%, based on the numbers that we have right now on it. 84.722 million shares compared to 84.172 million shares. Okay. So based on all of this stuff, are they undervalued? Yeah, they're still undervalued, I think. From the last 3 quarters and the current quarter that we're in, based on the numbers that we do have for them, their growth is still going to be pretty good if they get to 6 exahash. I'm giving them a P of 15 because they have been pretty efficient and everything else. So I see them at $6.75 to $10.12. They're currently at $4.68. Even when we look into future estimates, we have them a little bit higher here at $7.05 to $10.58. Okay, so yeah, I still think they're undervalued currently on that one. Okay, let me know what you guys think of all of this, and let's take a look at just the markets, what happened yesterday really quick, and Bitcoin in general, and then we'll call it a day. So it's been obviously a pretty long video here. Bitcoin is unfortunately just range bound right now. It is just hugging that 50-day moving average for some reason here, and we'll have to see what happens with it going forward. I mean, we can see that the RSI is here. Let me see, where's price? Price is right there. Last time price was over here. I'm trying to find like little peaks here. If we look at it here and here, price was actually higher. Yeah, so I think we're still going to be possibly heading down lower, possibly to the like 27,000 mark here to the 200 daily moving average. If that holds, possibly. I mean, just right now, it's just no way to tell which way it really wants to go on it. Let me see here. Average. Let me get rid of some of these lines here to maybe make it a little bit easier to see. And close these down. Let's see here. Close it. There we go. RSI, I want back. Okay. There we go. So that's kind of where we are on the 4-hour chart. The 4-hour chart, you can see that the RSI has been kind of flat while the price has also been flat. Really no direction as far as which way it wants to go right now. Maybe we'll get some kind of a catalyst happening here next week that will drive it. Obviously, everybody's waiting for the spot ETF to come in, but it's still not going to be out possibly for another 4 to 6 months. Even if then, I don't know if they maybe push the can down the road a little bit further. You never know with Gary Gensler at the helm at the SEC what's going to happen there, whether or not they do approve it or not. But yeah, it's kind of how things are playing out right now. So Bitcoin was actually, let's see here, on the daily, you can see here, automatic. It was actually down yesterday, so we've been down for the 3 days. Today we're up a little bit here. We're at 29,400 right now. We'll see how it goes. But the miners had a different story on Friday. A lot of them were in the green, some were in the red. But we can see that Annie was down 3%. Argo was flat on the day. Bitdeer, like I said, was just way up on the news. But like I said, I'm guessing it's because of the revenue increase. Bitfarms was up 1.94%. Cypher was up 2.8%. CleanSpark was also up quite nicely here. In the last 2 days, it was up another 11.26%. Cores was down 2.63%. DigiHost was up 5.26%. DMG was down, up 1.54%. GreenEdge was down 0.15%. Hive was up 4.46%. Hut was down 2.62%. Iris was up 2.91%. Mara was up 2.27%. Mawson was up 4.72%. Riot was up 1.53%. Soluna was up 9.96%. Stronghold was down 7.05%. I mean, that one's just up and down all the time. Wolf was up today or yesterday 1.59%, and then WGMI, Valkyrie's Bitcoin ETF. That one has been up yesterday as well. You can see here that it peaked at $19. This was back in July, and we've been down here to the 50-day moving average. We're kind of bouncing off of that a little bit here. Looks like that's kind of our support right now. We'll see where that goes forward. That has been a really good one as well for everybody. So like I said, we'll see what happens later on this week. Also, upcoming video is going to be on the Bitcoin miners metrics for the month of July. That will be probably coming out later on tonight. I'm going to get this out to you guys here relatively quickly, and then by the end of the night, we'll get the miners maybe tomorrow. Well, I'll think about it. Either tonight or tomorrow will be live one of those 2 days. Then we'll also take a look at the Bitcoin miners, how they did for the past week as well in that video. Possibly. I'm going to split it up into 2. We'll make it into 1 video for you guys. Okay, so that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. Spreadsheets, as always, are going to be available to my Patreon members there. And thank you to everyone there. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Bye.